Hey, this is Terry K, Nurse Terry K, and I'm here to talk about Gerd. I suffer from Gerd, and Gerd is not a great thing to have all the time. It always in me, it feels like there's always something in my chest. It's always when I eat, and I expect my food to be digested and be broken down. It always feels like there's something that moves the particles that should be going to the stomach back up through the esophagus. And that's where I get the reflux. So, it's like with GERD, the pathophysiology involves an imbalance. So there is an imbalance in the forces that causes the reflux and those that protect the esophagus. So, like I said, example, you're eating this great steak. Oh my God, the steak is great. It happened to me before. And I'm chewing the steak. I swallow the steak. It goes down into my stomach. To my stomach. Well, within the next, I say, 5 to 10 minutes, the steak is not digested totally, but the contents from the steak feels like instead of being broken down into the rest of the body, it feels as if it wants to regurgitate or move up from the stomach back into the esophagus. And that's where you have your reflux. It's characterized by the backflow of stomach acid and its contents into the esophagus due to a weak or improperly functioning lower esophageal sphincter, LES. And the LES is there to prevent reflux. So it's sort of like a catch-21. So when you feel the reflux going back up, it's like heartburn, but it's like an irritation. And that's what I feel like. A lot of times I have reflux and I'm taking medicine for it. I have the reflux and I feel like I'm coughing. I'm constantly coughing. And it's not because I got COVID. It's not because I've been around, anybody that is sensitive. A lot has to do with the GERD and the reflux. So let's take a detailed look at the key aspects. An anti-reflux barrier. The LES, along with the diaphragm and the angle of his, forms the barrier that prevents the stomach contents from flowing back up into the esophagus. When the barrier is weakened or fails, the stomach acid and its contents can enter into the esophagus. Okay. And another thing that can happen is like if you have a hiatal hernia, in which I had that too. I had to have surgery for it, but I had that too. I had a history of it. That's where the stomach bulges into the diaphragm and can also contribute to the breakdown of this barrier. So you have the LES, you have the diaphragm and the angle of his forming the protective barrier. You have the barrier weakening or failing to empty properly. So that means it can enter into the esophagus, and hiatal hernias can cause the bulging and the breakdown of the barrier. Okay, so factors contributing to GERD. Okay, you can have a reduced LES pressure, which is weakened or incompetent of doing what it's supposed to do in its job. You have a transient LES relaxations. So you have brief moments, then you have sporadic reactions. They're sort of like working against each other. Independent of swallowing. And they could contribute to reflux. And then you have the impaired esophageal clearance. Not being able to clear, like I said, when I would eat, especially steak, because, steak is sort of sort of good, but it can be sort of tough, especially on our digestive system. Um, when I would eat and swallow to break it down into the stomach, it didn't feel like my food was being properly digested. So all the stomach acid and the contents, because of the weakened LES, was moving back up into the esophagus, back up, causing the heartburn. And I will always feel a fullness in my chest. Always feel a fullness in my chest. So I had to be placed on medication. Delayed gastric emptying. That's another thing that can occur or happen with Gerd. Abdominal pressure. That's seen in pregnancy or obesity. I am obese and I'm working on trying to lose weight. So that's another reason why GERD can be predominant in most of us individuals. So consequences of reflux. We have erosive esophagitis, inflammation of the esophagus and the lining. It can cause damage to it. Non-erosive reflux disease. Some people experience symptoms despite of normal findings. People might, you might go to the doctor. Hey, they say everything looks normal, but you could be experiencing the same thing that the regular GERD experiences. Barrett's esophagus, and chronic cases, the esophageal cells can change into a more protective type of cell, which can lead to cancer. And then esophageal stricture, the narrowing and the scarring of the esophagus, which can occur due to chronic inflammation. So what it's saying is, your esophagus can get those, can start narrowing or get those strictures. And if they start narrowing and scarring, then that makes it more prevalent for you to get the GERD. Chronic inflammation, when you constantly going through inflammation because of the GERD, that can happen. There's all kind of risk involved with GERD. And then esophageal manifestations. GERD can also affect the respiratory system. And it does. It does with me. I mean, when I'm breathing, the coughing, because of the GERD, the food, whatever acidic, that goes down to be processed and broken down by the stomach acids, it comes right back up because of the lower esophageal sphincter is weakened. It can affect your vocal cords. It can also affect your teeth. If it's constantly coming back up, that's causing erosion. It's causing cavities. It's causing breakdown in your teeth. So here are some defensive mechanisms to help esophageal mucous integrity. The lining of the esophagus has several layers that protect against acid damage. Acid clearance. Saliva and other factors can help neutralize and clear acid from the esophagus. Epithelial repair. The esophagus has a rapid turnover rate, allowing it to repair damage from reflux. And visceral sensitivity. Changes in the esophageal sensitivity can alter the perception of GERD and symptoms. And that's a little that I want to talk about. I'll be back to give you more about medication and the food. Thanks.